Hey everyone, welcome back to another tier list video. In this one, we're going to be doing a Marvel Rivals tier list. And so, for those of you that don't know my style, I usually like to do, because I'm a competitive player, I actually just recently hit GrandMaster in Marvel Rivals. So I've been in a lot of high level lobbies. What I usually like to do is just do like each category of characters. So like bands, top supports, top tanks, top DPSs. Then I'll actually go over a tier list that most people are familiar with, like a double S through D tier list. But I just want to briefly go over what I think are the best picks for those of you looking to get into comp or looking to get into rank. So for those of you that don't know, if you are in a diamond or up lobby, so everybody in the lobby is either diamond or higher than diamond, there are bans in the game. Each team gets 2 bans and you can overlap bans, but these are the characters that I see get banned out the most. Mostly Hela and Hawkeye are typically permabanned every game. Then you can have like Luna Snow and Doctor Strange that are banned. Like Luna Snow gets banned way more than Doctor Strange, but Luna Snow does not get banned as much as these two. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. So Hela and Hawkeye, they just do a massive amount of DPS. I mean, dude, Hawkeye can literally one shot to the head. Hela is very close to that, so they have some of the highest DPS out of like any of the characters, especially if you're hitting your stuff at a high level. So these two tend to get banned out all the time, and Hela ult is just insane. Very, very good zoning tool, makes everybody run away from the area, or it just kills everybody. Next up, we have Luna Snow and Doctor Strange. Now, Luna Snow is the best healer in the game, in my opinion, at least. And she just, like, if you're playing Luna correctly, you should just have the most healing in the lobby. Assuming, like, perfect conditions, like you're not getting dove and all that kind of stuff 24/7. Her ult is a great pusher ult. It's exactly like Mantis's, but in my opinion, just a bit better, which is why I have her up here, and she heals more. But her ult, you literally just have 12 seconds of, hey, I'm unkillable, everybody else is unkillable, unless we get one shot by Hawkeye, but we're all unkillable. Oh, and also too, we get a big damage boost, right? Like 40% damage boost. Fun fact, it's like the same exact amount that Rocket Ult gives. And at high levels, you often see people kind of like putting it on scroll wheel and like switching really, really quickly if they want to. So Luna Ult is just like we get 12 seconds to do whatever we want for free kind of ult. And the only way to counteract us is with the Mantis ult or another Luna ult. And then finally, we have Doctor Strange on the bans list. This one's a little bit more arguable. I'm only putting him on the bans list because I personally think he's like the best tank in the game right now, and his ult can just hard change a fight. I mean, his shield can block other Strange ults and block really big ults that can literally potentially one shot your team. And then his ult alone, being an AoE stun that hits everybody around him, can hard turn a team fight and just allow you and your allies to pretty much win that team fight and just kind of push the carriage or, capture the objective, whatever you want to do, right? You get like a whole bunch of freedom after his ult. So these are going to be my top 4 bands. They're kind of like the best in their respective categories, tank, support, and DPS. That's why I kind of have them up here. Now for support, we're going to be going over like top 4 for each role. Support, Luna is the best in my opinion. So this is arguable, right? Like, I think a lot of people think it's Mantis. I personally think it's Luna. I think Luna's the best healer in particular. But she, like, when I think of support, I think of healers, which is why I have Luna here. And she also has really good buff, right? She has a really good buff with her ult, her 40% damage increase. So I just think that's going to make Luna the best support in the game. Her healing is top notch, better than all the other healers, and her buff is literally like a rocket ult, but better. It's like a moving rocket ult that can't die almost, right? Unless you get one shot by Hawkeye, but it's a moving rocket ult that can't die. So I think that's just insane. And then we have not Luna. We have Mantis. Mantis is a close second. Mantis also has a really insane ult, kind of similar to Luna's, where you get to heal your allies. You actually get to overcap shields, or you get to overcap their HP, giving everybody, including yourself, a shield. And on top of that, you can actually move around and actually, unlike Luna, who's like dancing and stuff like that on the battlefield, you have Mantis that can actually like still fight while she's ulting. The reason why I don't think it's as good as Luna's is because Luna's, I think, heals a little bit more, like has a little bit more of a healing rate to it. Also, Luna's lasts about 4 seconds longer. So Mantis's ult is 8 seconds. Luna's ult lasts for 12 seconds. And on top of that, Luna can give a damage boost to allies. Mantis can too with her regular abilities, but her damage boost is like 12%, whereas Luna's is a 40% damage boost with her ult. So that's the big thing. And she, again, heals more. So that's why I have Luna over Mantis personally. And then we have Rocket and Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger actually has an insane ult. You can like hard push an objective with Cloak and Dagger ult. In my opinion, the way you want to do it is you just want to be super aggressive with it, right? So you don't want to like ult passively, you know, side to side, whatever the case. You want to get in there. You were literally in Cloak and Dagger ult, you were literally a tank. And the thing that separates it from these two ults, because it's going to heal as much as these two ults do, right? The thing that separates it is it does damage. So you're not just creating a path for your allies to walk on where they're practically unkillable while they're on your ult. But on top of that, you're creating a path that if the enemy is stepping on it, they're taking a lot of damage that they don't want to take either. And so like they need to back off. And so now you just create this nice zoning pool that you and your allies can take. So that's why I think Cloak and Dagger is top 4. I think her ult's insane. And of course, Dagger herself heals a lot, and then Cloak himself does a lot of damage, right? You have healing increase with Dagger's E ability, the little like projection that she shoots out. And of course, she shoots out like a bubble projection that also heals. So she has like a lot of healing abilities. Her autos aren't going to heal as much as Luna's autos. I believe her autos only heal for like 33 an auto. Luna's do like 69 if you hit the full burst. But she has a lot of healing abilities, which gives her a lot of healing. And then, of course, Dagger is going to debuff the enemy. It's going to blind the enemy for like 1.5 seconds. And you're also going to get your projection, like that sim ability in, Cloak. That sim ability in Cloak form, you're going to get that off. And it's actually going to make them take 20% increased damage, which is insane. They take 20% increased damage when they get hit by that because they're 20% more vulnerable. So I think her abilities are great. She's going to make top 4 because of that. And then finally, we have Rocket. Rocket, I think, is decent. I think his kit's okay. The big thing about Rocket, aside from everything else, is his E, his res. I think having that res, especially on long pushes where like your respawn is super far away, I think makes the world of a difference, especially if you get to respawn a DPS or a tank, right? I think that just makes like a big difference to the fight and to winning. And the big thing about Rocket is he has a very good team up with these two DPS characters, which if these two are banned, which they should be banned almost every game, then these two DPS characters, in my opinion, are next up on the list. And I'll just kind of go over them real quick since we're kind of segueing into them anyways. So these two DPS characters, Bucky and Punisher, have a ton of damage. Bucky himself, I think, is a bit better because he has a lot of CC to him. But these two characters have a ton of damage, and they have a combo with Rocket where they grant Rocket an extra ability, which he can shoot out, and they get infinite ammo while they're standing in that vicinity of that ability, and they also get increased fire rate too. So they have a super good team up with this character, and these characters usually don't get banned at all. Sometimes Rocket will get banned here and there, sometimes these two will get banned here and there, but for the most part, they don't get banned that much. So they have a very good team up. That's why I think Rocket's also in top 4, because not only does he have the res, and his ult's good too, but I think Luna's ult's just, better ult. But not only does Rocket have a good res, but he has a really good team up with the next two best DPS characters that typically aren't banned, which are going to be Punisher and Bucky. Again, you're just doing a ton of damage. That's why they're kind of up here. I don't really think anybody else does more damage than these guys consistently. You do have your assassin-like characters like Psylocke and all them that I think are close seconds. That are easily really, really good characters. But these characters just do so much consistent damage, and they do it from range, and they can do it close, that it's really good. So that's why these are here, and that's why Rocket's also here, because of the team up as well. And then finally we have tank. So we have Groot, who's a close second to Doctor Strange, in my opinion. Doctor Strange being the best tank. Groot's really good though, because in my opinion, he has the best control in a team fight. So Groot can put up walls, which kind of almost act as anti-heal, if you want to think about it like that, because you can actually section off people in front, right? Say the tanks or whatever the case, you can actually section them off and then block the healing that's coming to them, say from Luna Snow, for example. So she can't really heal effectively. So you have a lot of that play, and so really good Groots can make a really big difference. There are some maps where it's like you just have to go Groot or you're just throwing the game. Close quarter, tight quarter maps that you're playing, Groot is very good on those maps, and so I think Groot is a close second to Doctor Strange. I think if you have a good Groot on your team, it makes a world of difference. He can block off the enemies, he can block off their healing, he can just control a fight, and of course his ult's going to be massive. His ult has one of the best setups out of any other ult or any other ability in the game. It's going to root and pull everybody in like a singularity towards the center, and it's going to kind of cripple them so they can't use abilities to get out of it, and you're kind of just stuck there on the ult. And then he can just combo with anybody, say, for example, Moon Knight ult, right? So that's why I think Groot's here. Magneto is decent. He's kind of like a budget Doctor Strange, in my opinion. I just don't think he's nearly as good. I don't think his shield's as good. I don't think any of his kits as good. The one thing I do like about Magneto is that he can give a shield to his supports or to anybody, including himself, if they're getting gone on, which I think is really, really cool. But his ult just does some damage, can be hard to hit. Like everything else, I think is worse um, from Magneto, except for like compared to Doctor Strange, except for that shield ability. So I just think he's a budget Doctor Strange. He's not as good, but he is good when you kind of like have a Strange and Magneto together. And I just think he's like better than the other tanks. That's why he's up here. And then finally we have Penny Parker. I haven't really played Penny that much, so more of this comes from observation in my games. But Penny just can have some really, really good DPS with her mines that are dropped from the robot, and also to you do have a little bit of CC with Penny, and you do have some pretty good zone control for a tank. So I do think Penny is a top 4 character. These are mostly the top 4s that I see. Like these characters I'm putting here are mostly here because these are what I see in the games. These are, you know, either what I play or what I see the most happening in the games from people. So these are mostly from people from the tank role. I'm a support main, by the way, so like we hit Grandmaster playing support. So I haven't played these roles nearly as much, so most of my knowledge is going to come from the support role, but a lot of this is just observation, what I see get picked ban, what I feel like is effective, not effective versus me, and these would be like the 4 per role. But let's go ahead and head on over to the SS through D tier portion of the tier list. All right, guys, welcome to the official portion of the tier list that most of you are most familiar with, I would assume. Yeah, so here we're gonna have SS through D. I'm just gonna briefly go over some of these characters. Again, I haven't played all these characters. I'm mostly main support, but a lot of these characters, for me, are just based off observation. What's getting picked, what's not getting picked, right? Like all that kind of jazz. So surprise, surprise, in our SS, we have all the characters that I put for bans. But these characters are just the best for their respective roles in the game. Best 2 damage dealers, best support in my opinion. Again, this is arguable with Mantis. You can kind of like argue that Mantis should be in SS. Completely valid. That's completely valid. I'm just going to put her in S because I just don't think she's as good as Luna. And then we have Doctor Strange as the best tank. And then in S, we have, you know, Groot, Mantis, close seconds to our SS tier. And then these 2 DPS, very close seconds to these guys. And then we also have the 3 assassins, right? We have Black Panther, Psylocke, and we have Magic. All 3 of these characters are dive-oriented characters, so it's really about pick your poison. Same thing with like Iron Fist. In fact, I'll put Iron Fist up here too because I think he's also a really good character. But all 4 of these characters are dive-oriented characters, so like kind of pick your poison on which one you want to pick. But they all want to go in there and dive and do their own thing. They all do it a little bit differently. I personally think out of these 4, Black Panther is the best. He's just the most annoying to deal with. A lot of you probably will disagree. A lot of you will probably say, hey, Magic's better. Like Magic's insane. Don't get me wrong. Magic's really good. Psylocke's really good, but Black Panther, there's something about a good Black Panther that I just can't deal with. I don't know what it is. It's so hard to get away from a good Black Panther. He's so evasive. I just can't, like, it's so hard to hit him. I see my DPS try to hit him. They miss. I mean, you can definitely, like, if you are against Black Panther, play like a Mantis or a Rocket that can get away, but a Mantis can easily stun him. You can stun him too with Luna if you want, if you can hit it. Mantis's stun is easier to hit, or her sleep is easier to hit, and then you guys can just kill him. But all 4 of these characters are just going to be your dive, try to kill the supports and all that kind of stuff, and I think they're all S tier characters. They're all very good. I know I just had Iron Fist in A tier, but I'm thinking about it more, and I'm like, let me just group them with the homies. These guys all do the same thing, and I think these guys are all sick at what they do. But I don't think they're going to be as good as like these 2, and then these 2. I just think that these 4 DPS are just the best, but it's situational, right? Like there's some situations where you need to dive and you're going to pick these over these 2, right? So it just depends, but all 4 of these guys are really good at what they do. And then A tier, we just have like some of your other more like DPS oriented characters. Moon Knight, yeah, I think is probably the best out of all these guys here, just because he has so much ricochet damage. He's gonna be your stat stick. He's gonna be able to farm up the most damage, I think, more than most other DPS oriented characters. But he does get dove pretty easily. Like you can dive him really well with, like, say, Psylocke, for example. It's really hard for him to kind of get away. Like he has a lot of movement, but it's sort of like clunky, slow movement, if that makes sense. It's not like instantaneous like a Psylocke dash would be. And then you also have, like, you know, some of your other, like, say, support oriented characters I put here earlier. You have Penny Parker. Yeah, I mean, I just think that these characters are, like, the way I'm looking at these tier lists, right, is that these characters are good at what they do, but they're not as good as the characters up here for their respective roles. You know what I mean? Like, for example, Penny's not as good as, like, Groot. Groot's an S tier, Penny's got to be an A tier. You know what I mean? But like Penny's still a good character, just not as good. In fact, if I were to label these, I'd say double S tier is OP. I'd say S tier is excellent. A tier would be very good. B tier would be good. C tier would be like decent or average, and then D tier would just be bad. That's how I would like label each of these tiers. But yeah, so these would be my A tier characters. Then B tier, Magneto. Again, we have a budget. We have a budget Doctor Strange. I actually think Jeff is pretty good, but Jeff is too niche. He's like good on some maps, or he can be very good on some maps. But again, I'm not really picking Jeff over any of these other support healers. Like, I'm just not doing it. But he's a cool character. Like, and he does have really big ults. I've seen some Jeff ults go really, really massive. Like, if you're watching this and you one-trick Jeff, I'm not dogging on Jeff, bro. Jeff's dope. Jeff's like the best dog shark I've ever seen, all right? But like he's just not going to be as good healing, not healing wise. He actually does heal a really good amount, but he's just not going to be as good as these other characters because they all heal and do a little bit more as well. They have a little bit more play. One character that I have in B tier, actually two characters that I have in B tier that I think don't get as much recognition are Storm and Iron Man. Storm and Iron Man. Listen, Iron Man has like this bad sort of. I think it's because Iron Man can get jumped on really easily, but Iron Man does a lot of damage. I've seen some Iron Mans do really well, and unlike Scarlet Witch, who takes like 12 millennia to activate her ult, Iron Man's pulse, his ult can kind of go off instantly. That's, by the way, that's why this character is in B tier. I might even put her in C tier, but her ult, like the rest of her kit's great, but her ult's holding her back. Like you need to do something with her ult. I don't know. I just think it takes too long. It's way too easy to say like, hey, let me block this with Strange Shield, or like, let me just get behind a wall. You know what I mean? It's just too easy to do that. Maybe you can argue that's zoning ult, but like I know everybody wants to get multi-kills with it. Maybe activate the animation faster. That's my suggestion. But in any case, though, let's get back to this. Storm and Iron Man. I just think these characters don't have enough recognition right now, and they deserve a little bit more. Storm especially. Storm, I feel like, does a ton of damage with her ult. I haven't played her, so I actually don't know exactly what she does, but I have observed Storm on the battlefield, and her ult, when she gets it, she can teleport to anybody and just do a ton of damage and just like get multi-kills, just wipe people. It's a great zoning tool. It's a great pushing tool. Yeah, I think Storm needs to get played more. I've seen her played a little bit at higher level lobbies, and same thing with Iron Man. I see him get played a little bit at higher level lobbies, but again, these characters are here because these characters are just so much better. I mean, it's not even close. These four mostly have their own like little play styles, but like these characters are just so much better than these, right? And then you have Thor and you have Hawk. Thor, Hawk are actually, I think they're pretty good. I think Hawk is he's all right. I like his shield a lot. But Thor in particular, I think is actually a pretty good like damage-oriented tank. He's kind of like an assassin tank where it's like you just want to get the hell in there and kill people. He does a lot of damage. He just really needs a lot of healing backup because even though he gets a lot of HP through shields from using his hammers, he does have like I think some of the lowest HP out of all the tanks. And he just doesn't really feel that effective. Like when I think of a tank, I'm not really looking for an assassin style tank. I'm looking for more of a Doctor Strange. I'm looking for more of a Groot, more of a Magneto, right? More of a tank that's going to kind of sit in the front lines and be a tank, like absorb a lot of damage. So that's kind of why Thor is down here. Same thing with Hawk as well. But both these characters are great dive if you're looking for a super heavy dive comp. Speaking of dive, let's go to C tier and let's look at Venom and Captain America. The reason why these guys are in C tier and not B tier is because they have great dive, but like I feel like that's all they have. Mostly Captain America. But they kind of like do the same thing. I feel like they're two peas in the same pod. Venom is actually really tanky, especially with the shield if you can activate it. I've seen some really good Venoms, like really good Venoms. My team got diffed by Venom the other day. But I just think that Venom doesn't, Venom and Captain America, again, they don't play how I want a tank to play. And I think they actually do it a little bit worse than, say, like Thor and Hawk. Maybe not Venom. Maybe we can actually put Venom in B tier. I'll do that. I'll put Venom and I'll group him with these guys. But, like, I think Venom, I just think that these three aren't as good of tanks as everybody up here. And then Captain America just does his diving worse than these three tanks, if that makes sense. So that's why Captain America's in C tier. But yeah, we'll put Venom in B tier for sure. And then we also have Adam. Adam, my problem with Adam is he has too much downtime in his kit. Yes, his heals can come up pretty fast, but he has two heals that do heal a lot, but they do have cooldowns. So he's not consistently healing, say, like a Luna Snow, for example. And on top of that, he doesn't really have a way to escape, right? Like if he gets gone on, he's just kind of dead unless like he's getting killed by his allies or anything like that. And also to his left shift, which is a really, really good ability. I mean, it's pretty much damage reduction for him and his teammates that he hits it with. Way too long of a cooldown. I mean, you're talking along the same lines of Rocket, like res beacon. I think it's like around 30, 45 seconds, something like that. Just too long of a cooldown. That's why I don't have him higher up. I just don't think like you're not picking him if you want to win. You're picking other characters. He does have some maps that he's really good on, I think. Well, nah, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some maps where you can get like safer alts off and stuff like that. But yeah, I just wouldn't pick him over any of these other characters. And then same thing with these two DPS like Squirrel Girl and Star Lord. I think their alts, or I think his alt's annoying. I think her alt's kind of useless. I don't know. I always just dodge it. Maybe it's a good pushing tool. If anything, like you use her to kind of like get AoE autos around corners and stuff like that. So like if there's like a lot of corner maps or places where like people need to sit in a certain area, you can get good AoE damage off. But like besides that, she's too niche. Like you're not really using her. Same thing with Star Lord. I just think like why play him if you could play like Spider-Man, right? Or like maybe even like Iron Man. I just wouldn't ever. I just wouldn't use them. And then finally under D tier we have Black Widow and we have Wolverine. They're just worse in their respective parts. Black Widow is just a much worse version or super budget version of Hawkeye. Hawkeye just does it all better. He just does it all better. He's in Double S. He's in D. There's a reason why. I have seen some Black Widow's plays, and almost every time it's useless, and the team's like, please get off Black Widow and play something else. Almost every single time I've had a Black Widow on my team. And when I've played against a Black Widow, it's kind of like the same thing. I can imagine the enemy team saying, please, for love of God, get off Black Widow and play something else. Wolverine is he's just kind of like a worse like diver like these two. But Wolverine is interesting because Wolverine plays a little bit different. Wolverine, like I think the way you want to play Wolverine is that if you're looking to shred tanks, if you want to be a tank killer, I think Wolverine can actually be pretty good because you do like percent base HP and you are pretty tanky compared to other DPS, like because you get a big shield. And on top of that too, you can also like go over, pick up a tank, and then carry them back, right? So like that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna want to take somebody, pick them up, grab them, and then carry them back, and then you want to shred them with your damage and with your team's damage. So that's what Wolverine does, and I think that's actually fine for him to do. But I just think it's also like more of a niche play style. These guys are just more like open, like, hey, we can kind of pick these whenever and they'll be good. Wolverine's like, we can't really pick him whenever and he'll be good. He's good in certain circumstances. You have to want to like shred tanks, and you know maybe they only have one tank, maybe it's not a good pick, that kind of stuff, right? So he's just too niche. He's just a worse version of these four characters in my opinion, these four dives. So but that's kind of where I would rate everybody and the reasons why for the most part. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list, and I do plan on making some guides in the future. So if you guys want me to make a guide on mainly the support characters, I haven't really been playing any of the other roles as much because I've been grinding support and going you know, trying to climb the ranks and stuff like that, trying to reach eternity here soon. But if you guys want me to make some support guides, and like just let me know what support you guys would be interested in. And yeah, I'd love to do it. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. See ya.